So, hello and welcome. This is your GM in the Great Barrier, broadcasting from the center of your entertainment galaxy. We are live tonight with a game of Star Trek Adventures Aegis. It occurs to me I said tonight there, when I'm in fact broadcasting in the afternoon, and it is evening for, rather, it is morning for at least some of our players. We are stretched across time zones, so the commentary works either way. In any case, we are picking up with part 3 of our current episode, Boom and Bust. So, as a quick recap for those watching this week to week, what is basically going on is the Starship Aegis has arrived at Zoran Station. It is a relatively quiet mining outpost, one that Earth was not terribly aware of before now, in an area between United Earth's colonies and what is believed to be Tellarite space. You arrived here because of a distress call that was picked up from an Earth freighter that had stopped here, the ECS Caravel, and they had essentially told you that a disease was spreading and that they were being held there. Uh, there's a very weird combustible mix of leadership as well. The base is jointly operated, as you've discovered, by Nausicaans and by the Tellarite Jogus Corporation. Of course, the Nausicaans generally have a reputation as pirates and raiders, unless the less the peaceful sort. Same would very much go for their asteroid bases, but this, at least to this point, seems to be at least more benign or neutral. Your team has arrived in full hazard gear, led by Lieutenant Shira, the ship's armory officer, with an away team including Lieutenant Commander Romanov, the ship's chief engineer, Dr. Lambeth, Specialist Layton, one of the supporting characters that were just introduced for this, and of course Mr. Sorrel, your Vulcan Pathfinder and general scientific specialist, and just all around. Who could have a problem with this person? Just completely innocent. Everybody loves Sorrel, right?
I mean, obviously.
Yes. Uh, in any case, the during the time that you've been here, you have discovered that the you have you boarded the station and you met with the Nausicaan chieftain by the name of Hoglul. Uh, he is concerned somewhat with the reputation of the station, given the nature of this plague. He has not been able to figure out exactly what's been causing it, but has some people trying to work on it, and has very readily accepted your aid in this matter. Um, Over the course of this, you have learned, since you arrived in the station, that there are some interesting signs, at least from what you've picked up. In particular, since you arrived in this station, you've noticed, first from Mr. Sorrel's readout, there are definite signs of, like, some concentrations of microscopic mineral particles and even some microscopic dilithium particles, which this asteroid is devoted to mining here. Um, that seems to be responsible for at least some, but not all, of the symptoms of a disease that has been going around. Dr. Lambeth, you made this discovery when you were working on Nausicaan patients last week with the doctor that is helping you out here, or the doctor whom you are helping, a Nausicaan by the name of Mechlin. You've discovered that whatever illness this is, it appears to be something that has it's manifesting in terms of some level of blood toxicity as well, but also inflammation and general like respiratory distress. Some of that can be explained by microscopic damage that's being caused the by some of these metallic shards or like the mineral shards, but not all of it. And the causes, at least for the moment, left you somewhat baffled. It also means that while it may be possible to treat some of this illness without being able to identify more of the cause, you can't necessarily guarantee that everybody is going to be okay here. So, with all of that said, I believe those are the most salient points for when we left off. I think the only other point worthy of mentioning is that when helping when moving to help the Nausicaans at the medical facility, there was one encounter that you weren't expecting, particularly you, Romanov. A figure from your past, a former teacher from Alpha Centauri, a Vulcan by the name of Cardine, um, who was this gentleman here. And certainly the mix of Tellarites and Nausicaans is a curious one in any situation, but to have him here does seem a little strange. So, with all of that, I think that we will pick up from where we left off. Um, Specifically, while Dr. Lambeth was having his moment helping Dr. Mecklin with the patients and trying to identify the virus or whatever was responsible. That is to say, in terms of the a pathogen or condition, whatever that may be. The rest of you had started to move about investigating the place. So I believe, if I remember correctly, and going over my notes, it looks like Mr. Sorrel was going to generally try to investigate the situation further. Commander Romanov, with Shira accompanying her, was going to look for signs of any problems in the power systems or ventilation. Um, would I have that correct from the both of you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. I think a scene with you would definitely make sense here. Before that, just so that I can get clarification on some matters, Saral, in terms of your investigation, what would be the sort of general flavor or inkling of what direction you might take? What is it that you want to examine about this situation in in particular, or like just trying to get a sense of what he might try to do here?
Well, first of all, I wanted to grab the man with the environmental system expertise that we had on the team as well.
Okay,
Can't remember his name
that would be
because
specialist.
names are just drums and shadows and.
Of course they are. I believe the name behind that was Specialist Slayton.
Yep.
Yes, I wanted to grab the
Or
specialist
Leighton,
and
rather.
then try to figure out where the dilithium in the air comes from. And I think the approach would be simple, like a Geiger counter. So just have the tricorder. It has like the separate sensor thing, if I remember my TOS correctly. And just basically look for the places with the highest concentration and just go up the concentration to the source, hopefully.
I think at the level of tech you are using with Enterprise, they do have a scanner as a single integrated component. It's just not quite as good, but um, that would, of course, that doesn't preclude the possibility that you have your own custom equipment on you.
Not
Or
yet. Still taking stuff apart.
fair enough. we could say that as part of your scanning equipment, you maybe found some
However,
specific...
scanning works with whatever the tricorder technology gives me, I will employ.
Understood, understood. So, we will start then with the two of you walking about the colony, just generally moving through the paces. We'll set you two aside here. So,
Leighton would definitely have the equipment on him, by the way.
yeah,
It's his job.
yes,
it's
uh,
part of his life. It's an extension of him.
indeed so. So, Zoral, you have, with the two of you in environmental suits to provide some protection from whatever conditions might be afflicting these people. The two of you are just pacing through the walkways of the colony, running, like activating your scanners and trying to get some sense of what may be responsible for this situation. The very stocky gentleman has maybe a more elaborate setup than your basic scanner, and that will allow him to assist you at least. Um, the streets in the or walkways in this particular area of the hab are a little sparser. There are some Nausicaans off to the side of the to the side of a lot of the paths that you are about. And indeed, there are a few Kefrayans that are moving about, the more insectoid beings. But they move very quickly, darting away and trying to just go about their business as much as possible. Uh, the only one that might stick around is one tending to an errant bit of plant that seems to be growing. There seems to be active efforts to actually foster some sort of ecology here, as it were. Um, but yeah, I guess just to start off here, to give you a general sense of the patterns behind that, I would ask for, let's call this reason and science here, and call this difficulty, we'll call it a difficulty of 3 to start with.
Oh, fun. Would
But
my investigation focus apply?
yes, but Specialist Layton may also assist here.
Excellent. Now let's give this a whirl.
Okay, that is 2 successes from Mr. Sorrel.
The reason what?
Science would be the other point here.
Oh, come on, where is Leighton? I just
He should
had
be
him.
in the
There you go.
supporting
I found him.
characters tab.
I found him.
Excellent. Yeah. For anyone watching that's a little new to this, we use the Star Trek Adventure system by Modiphius. It's a 2d20 system, so for the 2 dice that are rolled, the objective is to hit a target number that is the sum of a attribute and discipline. The attributes are the very generic sort of thing. That is to say, like one's capacity for reason, fitness, their control, so on and so forth. Whereas the disciplines are more like science, security, command, engineering, that sort of thing. So with the proper roll there from Mr. Layton, you start getting a bit of a map here. That you do meet the 3 successes needed. You notice that there's generally the concentrations generally appear to be higher at the lower levels of the hab, but it does seem as though there are slight clusters of the very trace levels of dilithium. They're maybe just a little bit at slightly higher elevations. The entry point for the habitation that you entered is much higher up. It is in a deeper part of the asteroid where they decided essentially to not just build further to the side, but to build quite extensively up and down relative to the artificial gravity they've set up. And it does seem like the dilithium shards are at least dense enough to where they don't like to stay particularly high, but they are maintaining some pockets in the area. It seems as if it's at least partially following some of the air currents, or some of it might even be getting forced upwards at times. I would say that there definitely seems to be some relation, like with the. I would guess at this point is that something it must be getting circulated via via the ventilation system, or that something wherever the source is, it's getting picked up by that and kind of spread out through different parts of the area.
Do we have a map of uh, the climate control system? Maybe from our previous scans of the facility? I don't know how thorough these can be even.
You have a very vague map of how some of the machinery is structured. However, or rather how the colony is laid out, but you don't necessarily have a complete map of that. As you are carrying out those scans, however, that is something that Romanov and Shira might be able to access. So, I will of course allow you the chance to ask some additional questions here.
Okay, and we're all together, or are we at different locations?
I believe presently the two of you are, or rather, the two teams are separated at the moment. But once Saral has done his bit, unless he wants to go over and join you guys, then I think that we would just cut to a separate scene elsewhere in the hab that follows the two of you specifically.
Yeah, Soral and Leighton are happy to wander around alone in a company town,
Yeah.
investigating trouble.
Yep.
It'll be fine.
Yeah.
By the way, as you're walking around, if he sees anything that needs patched up or fixing, he will fix it.
Oh dear, I feel like just for the fun bit of flavor, I'm going to ask you to, I will allow you to make an attempt to just go about fixing something with call this, would this be something where he intentionally like sits back for a while and takes his time doing this? Is he just doing like a very quick modification here, something that would be that might be a little riskier or look a little gnarly just from how he's trying to do it? Is he trying to be surreptitious?
He's definitely like if he sees something like from afar, he'll definitely run ahead just so Sorrel doesn't have to wait for him. But he's definitely trying to take care of the small stuff that he can do passing by, and then note take that he needs to come back and deal with it later if it's a bigger problem, bigger concern. Unless it's an actually big concern, to which then he will take his time.
Okay.
But a lot of it's just whatever he can find around because if he doesn't have the stuff available at the moment.
Okay. If you would like a roll to flavor this scene here, I think
control and engineering.
Yes. And I am going to spend it. Go
ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to spend a point of threat to increase your complication range by 1.
Ooh, neat. So I have emergency repair, decontamination, environmental systems, and jury rigging. This is my jam. So,
yep. You definitely have focuses here.
And so, what's the difficulty?
The difficulty is going to be 2. Once again, for anyone joining us and getting a sense of this, the general idea behind the rolls is that the difficulty is the number of successes that need to be made, which you meet because you score 2 successes there. with that work latent, like you were just kind of between scans moving out, looking over a bit of machinery here, maybe applying applying work with whatever small tools you have that are easy to work with, or noting anything on a like signs of any regulators that might be defective, or otherwise like noting potential structural issues or something that seems just slightly out of whack. Um, you do peg at least one Nausicaan that is keeping an eye on you. As distracting as this particular Nausicaan gentleman has a very elaborate set of tattoos over his forehead, and between that and the tusks, you manage to, even through the EV suit, get a sense that his eyes are following you with each movement, but he just sits there somewhat lazily, like you are not quite worthy of his attention, or perhaps that you are what you are doing seems, while strange, it is at least innocuous.
Yeah, I
So.
incredibly not insulting at all, just norm.
Yep.
Just keep going.
Yep. In any case, as that is going on, Aleska and Shira, elsewhere in the cavern, the two of you are moving about towards one of the hubs of the ventilation system right now. As you approach what is the nearest structure is built into a part of the sort of interior cavern wall. There are a couple of Nausicaans standing near it, at least one fairly heavily armed. He gives you a halt and says, in words the translator can pick up, "The boss sent you?"
Yes, he did. He wanted us to look into some of the problems with the ventilation system.
He squints a little bit and looks over to the other Nausicaan. He exchanges some words with him, words that the translator circuits in neither of your suits can fully pick up, talking to the other one. Um, they converse a little bit back and forth, to which the one who is less armed just waves his hands around and like kind of gestures to you to wave you through. The other Nausicaan, who is a bit more heavily armed, says, "Oh, go on."
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll do everything we can to help.
Yeah. So you were guided over to a bit of machinery. It seems that there's a very large system of grates here, surrounded by various metal plates and outcroppings. There are a few consoles there. Some of them appear a bit more analog, cobbled together, while others are a little more a little closer to what you might have worked with in some cases. A few more digital displays. um, it seems to be like Telray in design for some of it, but this is a very cobbled together type of setup here. The one Nausicaan who is less armed, it strikes you, Romanov, this person has like picks up what appears to be a tool set and kind of struggling to find the proper word, says, "You off uh, off shift. You
I know.
work do work you need." Holding up tools here.
I'll gesture at any tools that I think I might need for the process.
Okay, it's mostly redundant for what you have.
And they might be a couple specialty wrenches or something, geared towards, they might have a unique design on that. So she'd probably spot that really fast and request it.
Yep. So the Nausicaan will provide you with some bits of equipment that are a little more specialized, or like calibrated specifically for what you would need, save you a little bit of time. Call if needed.
I'll get his comm frequency.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
He just points to another console a little ways off and says, basically the gesture is to indicate he will be working elsewhere, but
Got it. Okay.
So it's left that and sets you to work.
I'll start looking around, and I'll look at my compatriot and say, so the translators didn't pick half of what the other guys picked up, which means they either cussed you out, said something horrible about me, or said something horrible about you.
The heavily armed Nausicaan interjects with more words that the translator is not picking up here.
Yeah.
It could just be the translators, not.
I'm sure
it's struggling with human.
Either way, I'll start looking around and figure my way around this system and take a look at it.
Okay, Romanov, to investigate the ventilation system, I'm going to ask you for an insight plus engineering roll. The difficulty on this task is going to be 3.
Can I use reverse engineering?
I will allow for that. And for the information here, while that roll plays out, I'm going to make an attachment visible for you in the handouts, depending on what level of success you get. So we'll just see where that roll goes. And you are welcome to interject with what you find.
Well done.
Ignore that roll. I did not have the focus.
Oh, well,
it did.
It did apply. It did work there. Yeah, you pick up 3 successes there. So
yeah, actually, I had focus clicked, so that's good. That's
excellent. So everything was rolled properly. I'm going to make something visible to you in just a moment in the handout section. So just keep your eyes peeled there. While you are working, Romanov, Shira, the heavily armed Nausicaan, says a few more words that don't get picked up on the translator. He seems to be speaking to you in an like the tone would suggest something a little more maybe interrogative or at least casual.
Sorry, if the interpret thing isn't working.
He furrows his brow and then he starts speaking to you in admittedly broken, a broken version of the language, but he answers you in Andorian. Dialect different. Human not. Human language not fit.
Humans got many languages.
You are guard? Guardsman?
Imperial Guard. Yeah. Assigned to human ship.
I fought the guard many times.
You survived. Good job.
They were good opponents. They have Glorumba.
I imagine you've got lots of Glorumba too.
He meets you with a bit of a belligerent grin. Why are you on Earthship? Earthers no warriors.
Andorians want to be friends with humans, or have closer relations. So they sent me.
Just for that, Craig, for shits and giggles, I'd like Actually, no. I'm going to have him roll on this just to
Yeah.
see if he firmly gets that.
Also, no warriors. Freaking, I just kicked your ass, Shira. no more. No more than like a few days ago.
Well, Shira wasn't going full.
Anyway, the
Held back. One.
Earther looking for. Earthers may be looking for warriors for contract. They don't like the Tellarites.
Not looking for warriors for contract. Maybe some of their trade ships would?
Suppose. It's pity the many good contracts come up lately, and many here working to build, also many ready to fight.
Sure there are.
Probably get some at a discount for efforts, the Tellarites.
Relations with Tellarites not good?
Tellarites how you say, assholes.
Yes. I can't disagree with you. They do seem quite asshole. Lots of assholes.
So, Romanov, you may be picking up a little bit of the information or a little bit of the conversation in the background, at least that they are conversing, but it is coming through in a bit of it's coming through in Andorian, which the translator may or may not be fully picking up here, or there may at least be some words that don't quite come through. However, as you are doing this, you find that your years, whether working on the level before this, working on the Aegis, and just growing up around ships in general, do give you some very useful insights with regard to the ventilation system here.
Correct. And she's totally absorbed by that.
Yep.
So the dilithium is shredding the system, probably making it less effective.
Yeah. You want to actually? I know that the captain wishes to make a check in here, and if you're going to start saying things, then maybe it would be a good moment to have general comms open. So.
Yep. She'll say away team report.
I'm in the ventilation. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
This is Shira. We've currently split ourselves up into a couple of groups. Dr. Lambeth is currently helping treat patients. Sorrel and Leighton are off trying to investigate possible causes for the virus, and myself and Romanov are currently looking at the ventilation system, seeing if it might have spread through it.
Lieutenant, I am very much. She pauses and rubs her temple a bit. I very much approve of being dedicated to this away team, but I did ask you to let me know if you went beyond just taking care of the patients. Just heads up.
Fair enough. I need to give you some information right now, Skipper.
Very well. And then, Dr. Lambeth, if you can you fill me in on what you've figured out so far regarding the disease?
Yeah, can do.
Okay, so their filtration system is operating at 60% of usual efficiency. There's dilithium in the air, okay? And what it's doing is it's shredding the internal layers of the filtering system, the microscopic shards of minerals and dilithium fragments that could very well be helping the disease spread.
Would make sense. It's fairly common of the first team going out the ventilation and environmental systems on a mining base. Zach, I know mining bases to some degree. What is the common average of quality of environmental systems that typically that is concerning for everybody else, but for most miners is it'll do.
Well,
It's normal.
I mean,
75
generic
70.
the generic O2 scrubber is generally meant to stay at, I'd say, this would honestly be something more that Leighton knows in this case, so it would
Sure.
be everybody generally knows that if you're dealing with just like a simple O2 scrubber, you want it between 80 to 90% efficiency for shipboard travel. If you're dealing with a mining operation of some sort that goes underground, you obviously, well, for one thing, you don't just want a generic scrubber. You want something that's a little more capable of handling mineral and other anything else in the air, so as to avoid risks. You'd obviously also, in an active mine, you would probably have people with proper ventilation material, PPE, basically.
Right. Well, that isn't good. Is there any way we can repair it? Well enough.
Do I think I can repair this? Probably all the filtration, the filters are all going to have to be replaced, but the source of the dilithium has to be stopped before we make those repairs, right?
That'd make perfect sense. Logical.
So Stroll, I believe, is investigating the origin of the dilithium. I could fix this. How long would it take me with a team?
Well, it's also you got to keep in mind we don't have replicators, so it's
I know
the
that.
supplies we have.
Well, we might be able to create some filtration units out of parts here and stuff that we have.
They may have spares on the station.
Yeah, look, I'll Apollo 12 it, or Apollo 11, whichever one that,
13.
13, there you go. Apollo 13. My history is. My old professor would be upset.
As a historian major, I'm upset.
As a fan of Apollo 13, the film in particular, I am mildly upset.
Out of character, I claim I'm sick and I'm still here.
I got you, my dude.
Yeah, you are, of course, completely excused.
Yeah, you are. But yeah, she just asked you, can we repair it?
What do I think would be the time frame on that, assuming we can cobble together some new filters?
Depending on how many units there are, it could be a good couple days work. I mean, the filter replacement itself, that might be more resource consuming than time consuming. It seems like the filters themselves are like the core of the environmental system here. Seems to have been built off the same type of modular Jogus technology, or the Tellarite technology that Jogus brought. So if the supplies are around, then replacing those might be a fairly simple process. there's some very minor tweaks to the additional tech that you could do in order to help make things a little more usable. However, if the core problem is that somehow dilithium is getting into the air or it's going through the ventilation system somewhere, then that's not something that like that's going to cause the problem to persist for some time. Or like you can replace the filters all you want, they will keep getting damaged.
Right. So we have to shut off the source first. Okay, that's what she figured. So yeah, we've got to hunt down that source and shut it off. Then we can tackle the engineering problem.
Zoran, are you picking up communications?
It's probably a bit of delay, and then yes. What can I do for you?
With the amount of impurities in the air due to dilithium, is it common with dilithium mining? The amount of parts per minute or parts per million? Is this due to their mining or due to some other more
No.
concentration, higher concentration?
Any mining operation that takes any interest in the health of their employees should have higher standards.
I understand that much. I'm more regarding of the amount of saturation of dilithium in the air. Is that due to refinement or that due to simply them being dilithium miners? Them mining dilithium, rather.
You
I'm
mean the
wondering if there's
dilithium in
I'm
the
wondering if there's something
people
foul
or
going
in
on.
the air?
I'm wondering if something foul is going on. I'm talking about the air.
Well, I'm assuming there's something wrong with potentially the climate controls. So much that that's more dilithium than should be in the air. Shouldn't be any dilithium in the air, to be honest.
All right. Zoran, can you let me know when you find anything? Anything at all?
We're looking as fast as we can. I'm just looking too late and fixing some knickknack that Soral doesn't care about.
Doctor, the concern that we had initially?
Yeah. What is it?
I want an assessment, please.
Right, assessment. Yes, so from trying to treat the patients, we found essentially that there's two problems going on with them. There is dilithium exposure that's caused some problems, but even treating that, there's still some underlying I think viral strains or something like that that's causing additional problems. Right now, we're trying to isolate the source of both things separately, the dilithium and the whatever other source is causing the other problems.
And the plague?
Yeah, I guess the plague's the latter part.
As a reminder, Doctor, you have not actually identified a pathogen of any sort, be it
Okay.
bacterial or viral agent. I know it's been a week, but I thought
Right,
that
yes.
bit of clarification would help.
That's helpful, thank you. Yeah, I mean, we haven't actually identified any particular pathogen as a source of the plague. This could all be environmental, for all we know, but it's not just dilithium. So the dilithium appears to be making the problem worse.
What do you need for a better results? A better examination. I would like answers. I'm sure as much as you do.
Yeah. I'm not don't know if. I mean, we might not be able to. I mean, the thing about trying to find stuff is that you don't know if you haven't found it yet. You don't know whether it's there. So even with the most advanced equipment. I might not be able to find any pathogens because there might not be any there. But
if you really want to look as closely as possible,
and try and be as sure as I can, then
do you need more equipment? Do you need to bring some patients up here?
I mean, yeah, medbay back on the Aegis would probably be more advanced and better able to cope with this up there, but we don't want to risk infection or anything like that.
Agreed.
I can probably just... I mean, I've got most of my medical equipment with me here. I'm not sure what... I don't think there's too much more that I can get that will be useful at the moment. I think I still needs to...
I
can probably figure out the
last week,
source of
I
the
do.
problem based on what I've got here at the moment. If we're looking for details and trying to refine stuff down, then I might need some more tools, but I don't think I'll know what tools they are until I've figured out what the source of the problem is.
Out of character, I do believe like we reached a pinnacle though, right? Like last week, which was you do need more equipment. You at least need more more sensitive tools because what you had on hand was more broad and not,
Right, yeah. Would I know what, I guess, what stuff I'm particularly looking for? So what kind of tools I'd need?
I mean, at this point, I think Doctor, you've made a good point about not knowing exactly what you're looking for. So the rule of medical drama at this point is that you order every possible means of examining them in order to do that, or run as many tests as possible. The Aegis would be most capable of performing those actions given the limited medical facilities you have here. Absent that, at least being able to, say, transport samples back to the Aegis in firm containment and then maybe bringing over some equipment might be a compromise measure. But you could definitely, at the very least, you might want to have them beam over some specialized portable like lab equipment so that if you can be given a sterile space or set up your medical tent, as it were, then you can basically put it through the whole range of or as much as your equipment will allow, put it through the whole range of like what weird is going on with these biological samples? What tests can I put these through here?
Yeah, and would also enable us to better treat people who are injured as well as figure out what's wrong with them.
Precisely. Hammer on the head there.
So I guess he's probably got like he'll be able to rattle off a list of standard stuff needed for setting up more advanced medical facilities.
I'll have it transported down.
All right, thank you.
Give me a location, I'll transport it.
Yeah, I don't know what specifically we might need, but yeah, even actually like just light duty stuff from the ship will probably be better than a lot of what we've got here.
As the old saying goes right now, Doctor, you have a blank check. Whatever you need. Shira,
thank you.
Tactical assessment. How does it look from a security perspective? Is it all up and up, or?
It looks like a mining operation that's got ideas to grow into a trading hub. Honestly, I don't think there's much in the way of a security threat, although the Tellarites might get ideas of trying to forcibly leave at some point, which could cause a few issues.
I've been thinking about that, and I might pull you and Romanov back. Romanov, Shira,
yeah.
How's your 0G training?
To Imperial Guard standards, sir.
I've done some 0G, but I'm not specialized in it. Just what I've done through training with Starfleet and some experience working the Alpha Centauri shipyards. I'm comfortable in a vac suit.
Great. Get back to the ship. I have an idea.
Okay.
You can send whatever engineers you need to help repair those ventilation systems.
Got it.
That can open there, right in the eardrum.
Sorry, so one of the Norsicans is just having a beverage.
Yep, the same one that was chatting with you in Broken Andorian has opened a can of, I don't know.
The captain just raising a freshly opened can to her lips. Yes, the Nausicaan.
Noskin just has some Sluggo Cola.
But yeah, get up here, and I have a plan.
Okay.
To keep things a bit more, keep the Tellarites in bay.
Okay.
All right. We'll finish up here then, and head back to the shuttle.
Saral, Doctor, I would like the two of you plus, I suppose, Specialist Leighton to stay. Look into what you've already been looking into.
Understood.
Excellent. So we will keep doing what we're doing.
Before we leave, sir, should we take the opportunity to inform Chief? God, what's his name?
Hoggle.
Hoggle. That Hoggle of our findings, so they can get their engineers trying to fix it as well. They'll know the station better than our ones will.
I think that's a good idea.
Saral,
Yes.
I'm putting a lot of faith in you right now. How much of a feeling do you have regarding this dilithium problem?
How much of a what, sir? Sorry?
Feeling. Should I let the chief know, or would that be a lead on to something that they might be trying to hide?
I mean, I would assume they know. They're not really that. I mean, the levels that we're detecting aren't really undetectable, if you get my meaning.
True enough.
I don't know how much they're communicating that to the Nausicans. There seems to be some frictions between the factions. He certainly is trying to keep a low profile overall.
More of what you're pursuing right now. If we tip off the Nausicans or whoever about such a concentration. But no, you have a good point. All right. Shira.
Yeah, like I'd say even if it is going to tip people off, it might be worth letting them know anyway, just because it might end up saving lives. I don't know if the little advantage it'll give us to keep this all secret is worth the potential cost of people going untweeted.
Well said. All right, Romanov, Shira, go ahead and inform the chief. Also, let him know that shortly I will visit and have a proper discussion.
Will do.
Okay. We'll let the chief know.
But if you can, I want you up here in 2 hours. At
Okay.
most.
Yep. Back as soon as we can.
All right. So, everyone, I guess, starts proceeding with their task. Let's see here. As the comm line closes, well, I guess, Romanov, are you trying to continue any further analysis on the filtering? Would be my first question.
Yeah. I want to make sure that once we identify where this problem is, I have a plan to fix it. Meaning, I know what steps need to be done,
Okay.
and I can sort of have any engineering team start. That way, I'm a little ahead of the game.
Yeah. Well, I guess I would say that the procedure would seem pretty simple from here on out, given the nature of these air scrubbers. Basically, you're looking at the need to replace it.
Okay,
Ideally with the same.
do they have additional air scrubbers and filters
You
in
would
their inventory?
you would be terribly surprised if they didn't. However, the operation here is just a tad ramshackle, so
And they've been possibly burning through these, so I'm going to make the inquiry to one of the people here, one of the Nausicaans.
uh, the other the other Nausicaan, the one who might be a fellow engineer or mechanic, is a little ways off, working on the machine. As you are you placing the filter basically back into where it was, or are you leaving that exposed?
I'm going to. I'll go ahead and put it back where it was.
Okay. Yeah. So there's the engineer, and there's the one that has been talking amiably with Shira and is now downing a can of Sluggo Cola.
Okay, well then I'll head up to the engineer one and say, do you have these filters? And I'll just show them the picture from my data pad that I took of their filter.
Cleans the air.
Yes. Do you have more units?
Nausicaan, gonna roll for the Nausicaan, who, unfortunately, as Shira's discovered, the dialects are not uniform here, and the translator is not doing so hot with them, so I'm going to roll for the interrogative, or comprehension, rather. So let's see. That is insight and command from them. Uh, air cleaned through. It just. He's kind of the tone. While while the words are obviously not quite linking, you think that the he's giving you a bit of condescension here. You can at least discern, because he doesn't think he thinks that you are. He's treating it as if you are maybe asking about function, or like what is this, or what does this do, as opposed to do you have it. He's misinterpreting what you are asking.
Is there a computer nearby I could try to bring up the inventory list for the station?
There is. It is a like the characters are all in Nausicaan. Though there are some active displays, it will take a little bit of work to understand precisely what it is saying. He is also actively working on it, about to type in some sort of commands. Um,
Okay.
as a matter of fact, he pushes a sequence of buttons as you are talking, and within a few minutes there is a loud sort of whirring noise and a much more significant rush of air from the ventilation behind you.
Okay. As if he's adjusting the ventilation system.
Uh, Certainly, that would likely be the case.
Okay. I will hold my breath, just
Oh,
breathe, and I'll
We've got
look.
our
You're
Oh, that's
still
right.
in the EV
environmental
suit.
suits on.
Pack suits. Never mind.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. Well, I will see if I can bring up the Nausicaan word for inventory on my data pad, if possible.
Insulted his mother.
Okay. I'm going to say, yeah, you open up your communicator, seeing if you can tap into the translation function. I'll say, just to go ahead and set this up, give me a presence, and let's call this presence and science here. The difficulty will only be 1.
Okay. May I use my focus of computers?
I don't think it quite works for the translation task here.
Okay.
But I am going to spend 1 point of threat to once again increase your complication range here.
Okay.
You pull up what you think is Nausicaan, the Nausicaan word for inventory in at least the one dialect that Earth translators are at least familiar with. Characters included. You attempt to show it to this man as you try to make reference to it, and he squints like, amount, uh, backup, redundancy. Yes. Many, some. Tellarites.
And
Sounds like they've got some.
I'll specifically show him the picture of the filter so he knows which item I'm asking about.
Yep. He looks over and runs it through, and what he'll do is he'll go to one of the more active digital displays and type in some commands there. It seems as though there are dozens of nodes in the main habitation, in an adjacent area that seems to be, from what the sensors would gather, there's much more biological activity or bio readings. From I think what Hoglul had mentioned, there may be sort of a farm or like ecological diversity set up there. Chiefly something that the Kafrans are working on. There are numerous nodes there, and at this point, I would say that with that and with he pulls up a secondary display which suggests essentially that they have filters to maybe replace 2/3 of what they have functioning right now.
Okay, that's what I needed to know.
Yeah.
Then I got as much data on these filters as we can, specifically the filtration level that it's designed for, which should catch viruses and bacteria and all that. So I'll get a good scan of it so we can try to create the other ones if need be.
Indeed. Okay.
And I will thank him and gesture Slug Cola. Give him thumbs up.
The engineer is not drinking it, but when he looks over to see the other Noskin, he just kind of gives the universal gesture for finding something tiresome and rolls his eyes.
Okay. I'll look over at Shira. We've got everything we need.
Good. Right. Let's go to Chief Hoglul.
Okay.
The Nausicaan gives you a vague gesture to give you directions and gives you a little more instruction in broken Andorian in order to find it.
Thank you.
Name is Kasnar. Uh, if you need the fight.
Thank you. If I want to have a fight, I'll be sure to call you.
Uh, good contracts here. So yeah, the two of you begin to make your move towards Hoglul. And yeah, as you begin to make your way, the area it begins to throughout the cavern. You would not be able to all of you would not be able to tell as much just because of the environmental suits. You wouldn't feel it directly, but you would notice through other means, perhaps the pickup of sound from the mics inside your helmets. The movement of the sparse vegetation that is being cultivated by the Kafraians. Doctor, at this point, you may be outside setting up the medical tent that you had brought along with you. Um, but there's a larger rush of air just kind of generally throughout the habitation. It would almost be analogous to a
Quite
breeze.
sudden.
I'm sorry, say again, Ben?
Okay. And sorry, is it like quite just suddenly? There was no sign of it beforehand.
Uh, not from
It
where
was
you
just a
would have,
sudden breeze.
yeah, not from where you would have been. Shira and Romanov would have noticed, at least where they were standing, uh, that beforehand one of the major ventilation nodes was kicking on and beginning to go through some sort of cycling process. So
Right, okay.
yeah,
So I
that's
could probably assume from this that ventilation is switched on.
yeah, uh, it might not be the most obvious thing to you there. So far as your experience goes, Dr. Lambeth, you grew up on colonies with an
Yeah,
atmosphere, and you've been mostly places with atmosphere. Um, for the ships you
yeah.
would have been on, it's a very slow and steady process. I don't know how many star bases, or certainly I don't think you would have been on anything quite like this before.
Yeah, probably not.
Yep. But among the more
Mm.
interesting things, as specialist Leighton is working, and as Soral, you are looking over your scanner with the accompanying rush of air, there is indeed a bit of beeping from your hand scanner. And
Mm.
So just that it's blown about, or that it's an increase in concentration.
operative term is increase here.
Fantastic. It's everything
So,
I ever dreamed.
yep.
Um,
And
Uh,
we can get back to that in a moment here, but first, I did want to cover one more thing with the brief meeting with Hoglul and Shira here. Then there are things you wish to do from there, Saral. We will pick it up. Likewise with the doctor. Um, but anyway, while all of this is going, um, Lieutenant, you find your way eventually to the nearby to a structure. It's a little ways up relative to the cave, or slightly higher elevation would be what the Nausicaans are considering maybe a few levels up. You basically have to go up maybe two of the improvised walkways into a relatively intact modular structure. You could guess that this was a disassembled compartment of a ship from at some point. mostly kept in decent shape, but the hull plating on the exterior that this was made of, it does show signs of there was probably some scoring in the past from various environmental hazards. Nothing quite as severe as, say, weapons fire. But there is a door there which is complete. It is an automated door that opens. It is completely functional as you step through. In the background, you hear the chieftain as you enter, having a little bit of a screaming match. You don't see him directly right away because there are a couple guards inside this like compartment essentially that like place a hand up before you can close the distance. Would either of you two like to try and get a sense of what's going on?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay, we'll call this insight and we'll call it command here.
Ah, okay. Well, prepared for absolutely no insight to what's going on. What's the difficulty?
Difficulty will just be 1 here.
Yes. Well, at least it isn't insight and science.
You can always add a die.
No. Hey, got 1.
So, Shira, yeah, you do pick up right away that it is that Hoglul and what sounds like Administrator Gant are going back and forth. How difficult is it to set up simple access for our allies here to examine this examine the mining equipment? You let our workers through all the time. These allies that's quite a loaded word there because they're certainly not mine. These Earth meddlers want to look at proprietary Jogas technology. I'm afraid that's a different matter, especially with as the state of hostilities here. But in any case, I can't allow that without more reason from corporate, and as you may have noticed, I can't get a hold of them because somebody has blocked my communications. Furthermore, even if I could get a hold of them, they're probably not in the most permissive mood, given the fact that if they were to find out, they'd also learn their dilithium shipment is going to be late, and that'll put us in a world of hurt. You're not making things work for me, so how do you expect me to make it work for you? Oh, if you just cooperate, then this would be done and we would be through. Cooperation is a two-way street there, and I'm not getting it from you. Call me back when you're serious about something. And the line closes, and there's just a very loud grumbling from Hogel. Oh, well, whoever it is, if it's from the Earthship, let them in through. And the guards do as such. Within the compartment, Shira, you find that Hoglul has dressed it up. The base sort of materials of the area would suggest it was maybe something of like a small common area of some sort in the past. It could have been maybe some sort of training area, a small cargo space, a mess hall perhaps. It is hard to say precisely. What it has been turned to is essentially a sort of public-facing office-type space, or a room in which to receive people. There are displays set up that are like in terms of computer systems that allow some monitoring of parts of the colony. nothing too sensitive here. It looks fairly innocuous. There are at least some bits of what appear to be some artistic setup. I'd say maybe like small signs of tapestries or small displayed items. Some weapons among them, other objects that maybe throw back to Nausicaa in some way. Um, and there are at the far end of the room, near a communications display that Hogel is stepping away from, there are a few tables and chairs, something metallic in setup, or something that definitely likely came with this module. Um, but they have been set up to have look as presentable as possible, to have some generic trappings of state or administration, something to give them an air of authority. Oh, the Andorian. Yes, yes. Come this way. What can I do for you?
We've finished our preliminary checks on the station and the ventilation system.
Are you any closer to discerning the nature of this disease?
Not the nature of disease, but we may have worked out how it might be spreading. Alaska?
So your filtration system has been getting shredded by the dilithium that's in the air. You're at 60% less efficiency than you were. You only have 2/3 of the necessary supplies to replace them. They're pointless to replace until we stop the microscopic particles of minerals and dilithium that's shredding the ventilation system.
We've lost 60% efficiency.
Yeah, I'll show you. I'll pull up my beta pad. I took a picture right off of one of your screens. I collected all the data.
He looks slightly reassured as it takes him a moment to figure it out, but he realizes that it actually is only down to 60% efficiency as opposed to
Right.
having lost that percentage.
Okay, player mistake.
You made me concerned I would have to evacuate this place.
Sorry, no, you're down to 60%.
Well, I do not know how much luck we will have getting more equipment from the Jogas. They do have some surplus filters in addition to our own supply, but there is little that we can command at the moment.
So we might be able to create new filters and place them in the existing frame that slots into your system. And I'm sort of conceiving of how we can do that now. I need a list of supplies that are within a certain parameter so that I know what could be done.
Well, as you say, it is not a problem that can easily be fixed until we locate the source of this problem.
Exactly.
I do not believe Administrator Gant is going to be terribly helpful for the time being. I will continue, though, to converse with him and see what I can do.
Fair enough. That may be the source of how the disease is spreading. The shredded ventilation filters would allow viruses and stuff through easily. And then your system's working harder because I just noticed it kicked out air. That's usually a sign that the system is trying to overcome resistance. Is that right, GM?
We actually, as I have been told, with the nature of the pressurization in the habitat, we periodically need to set the system to a more significant recirculation mode, so that the life support mechanism can more properly treat the air. It is the only way right now that we can presently maintain habitable levels of oxygen and other parts of the atmosphere until we are better established.
Well, that may be. This would be for medical people to analyze, but that could be affecting spread. Certainly, anytime a ventilation system on a base or a starship is working harder, uh, that's never good. You always want to balance your vac systems.
Well, when we are better established, maybe we will have that ability. Until then, if your captain is able to converse with Administrator Gent, perhaps perhaps he would be more amenable to compromise if he better understood your intentions and that they were not hostile.
Well, myself and Romanov are heading back to our ship just to report back to our captain. So might be we can ask our captain to have a cordial chat with Tellarite.
Somewhere in somebody's mind, the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme is playing after remembering the last cordial chat.
Well, that's a captain problem, not the armory officer's problem.
Above my pay grade. Yeah. The captain did want to talk to the chief too, by the way.
Okay. We'll be sure to open the comms here after they get back, but allow for some other scenes to happen first.
No. I mean more of Shiros was say that she was going to meet the chief in person.
Ah. Well, we can easily say that Shira mentions that now, and
the captain would also probably like to come and see you in person too.
If that is her prerogative, so long as she observes quarantine protocols, I will also, of course, maintain a comm line in case your ship wishes to. In case you wish to signal us.
Of course. Yes. One last thing. We met that Vulcan chap, Cardin?
Yes, Cardin.
Where is he located? I'd like to have a quick word with him before we leave, since he was working with the patients. Helping the patient, not with the patients.
I know not precisely where the Vulcan stays on his off hours. He has been here he's been here for at least a few weeks at this point, and has been one of he seeks to make peace here, from what I gather.
So he doesn't have assigned quarters, or
Hoglo will get up and go to a sensor console. His last place of residence appears to be, level 2 near the habitation, and in a segment in the living quarters here. You will most likely find him in that location.
Excellent. Thank you, Chieftain.
He gives you the slightest of nods to acknowledge you, And is there anything else I can provide you here?
No, I think that will be all. If we have anything further, it'll probably be our captain. We've going to leave a couple of personnel here, our doctor and a couple others.
Do what you must to help.
Very well.
And with that, Hoglul will, if there is nothing else, Hoglul will politely gesture you outside, he will walk with you alongside the guards up to the door and allow you to depart.
We'll
So,
depart.
yep. So, as the two of you move off to find the Vulcan gentleman, let us bounce around a little bit. First and foremost, Doctor, we haven't given you a proper scene all session, so as far as what you would be doing, there'd obviously be set up with the medical equipment. Would you like to be trying to do anything in particular past that setup, or would you like to carry your investigation further in any way?
I think the plan was. I think it probably depends on what information Saval's been able to gather.
Okay, so
I
you'd want to
think part
touch
of the plan was for them to split up and work on different things.
I gotcha.
So if I think it will be safe to contact Saval, I guess that's a good idea to do.
Okay. Well, Saral, would you want to check in with the doctor as you are beginning to get some new information here?
Come again?
I was just checking to see the doctor was thinking of possibly checking in with you and just seeing if there was any new information if you wanted to converse on the matter.
Well, I mean, I think there's two things I wanted to look into. That first is if the lithium crystals are indeed just shredding the filters. And secondly, why there are so many dilithium nanocrystals still in the circulation and they reach the filters, because the filters are clearly not designed to keep these out, so they should be filtered out earlier in the cycle.
Indeed, perfectly sensible. So, what we'll do, Doctor, we'll revisit you in a moment here, and
Yep.
we'll follow up with Mr. Saral here. So, walking through the segments in the habitation, yes, you have indeed noticed that there's an increase with the major circulation that the ventilation nodes have engaged. There is an increase in the parts per million of dilithium and other mineral microfragments. Um, I suppose, so you wanted to go and try to examine the ventilation a bit closer yourself, or try to get more information there?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you're getting to one of the environmental system, like one of the bigger, what's the word I'm looking for? Pumps, vents, installations. I would absolutely take a look. Probably unprompted and unasking.
You do also know that Romanov and Shira were in this area a bit earlier, so if you want to, you could consult with them. You could make this something where you go and engage with them on this too, or just take take Leighton along and try to have your own look.
Yeah, I guess me and Leighton having our own look.
Sure.
You find a heavily armed Noskin at the nearest node, crushing an empty can of something that appears to be it looks like a Sluggo Cola branded beverage that he crushes and tosses in a nearby recycler, and he sees you. It's like, uh, uh, different ones. Uh, others here.
Others have been here before.
Yes.
Thinks for a second, then pulls out the communicator and says, Soral to Shira.
Shira here.
I was about to take a look at the filtration units. You've already had a look?
Yes, Romanoff took a look at them. Got scans. Do you want us to send you the information we got?
Yeah, might as well. I don't have to check again. We might go further down the line and see where the lithium crystals are coming from.
That would be a good idea. I would guess it's coming from the mining side.
I mean, yeah.
I did overhear a part of a conversation. The Tellarites might not be keen to let us start looking over their mining equipment. So you'll probably need to persuade them to let you in.
Will the Nausicans be of any help?
I doubt it. At least not where it comes to the Tellarite side of the operation.
Well, we can only try, can we?
Yes. I'll ask Alaska to send the data over.
Appreciate it. Soral out. Just hangs up.
Leighton, Soral, please give me an insight and security roll, please.
For the schematics or for about the 20 Tellarites that are about to jump us?
Just a difficulty one, and it is not related to the schematics.
Mm-hmm.
1.
Investigation? Focus? Probably not.
I don't think it quite works. Your
No,
investigation
it doesn't
is
do
more
it.
committed to the other.
I'm investigating everything. 2.
Okay, you get 1 point of momentum back there. So, Soral, despite your focus being on the schematics, which, to reiterate, first show you that indeed the life support systems here appear to be just essentially a very generally focused CO2 scrubber type system. So the filters in these main nodes are focused purely on pulling out basically CO2, harmful gases, something that'd be expected on a generic life support system. They aren't really equipped for the types of heavy duty mineral content and dilithium that's coming through here. But although there's, of course, the possibility of some trace minerals just coming off the surface because they've built into an asteroid, that still doesn't explain the presence of the dilithium here, or if it were just recirculating air from this part of the cavern, this isn't where the mining operation is, so it doesn't make sense that the air is that it's coming from a source inside of here. The idea of this somehow being linked to the mines is a bit stronger in this case, given that that is where a lot more active mineral activity would be. So far as the schematics you've been given shows, it seems that the ventilation system is most of the connections are between this habitation module and the area that has been designated as like a farming or ecology location. there is some central links that take it back to an area between the mines and the habitation. From the sensor scans you got earlier, this is vaguely an area that seems to have systems that tie into environmental controls, life support, some power generation for the site. It's an area accessible from the habitation or the mines. But it's like it seems as though there are only a handful of entrances that you haven't been near at this point. And those are the details that were basically already known and that you're going over. And it is not enough, however, to distract you from the figure that is approaching. At this point, doing without the cloak, both you and Leighton notice that you are being approached by a Vulcan.
Kind of gestures with his head.
Well, it's a free mining station. I just mutter to Leighton.
He will avoid that a little bit by just looking more closely at the ventilation system they already looked at. Just try to not be involved in that conversation.
Well,
You're on your own, Serval.
As always. I mean, I can't prevent him from coming closer except shooting him, and I feel that's a bit excessive at this point, so...
Yep.
Maybe later. We'll see.
Nerv, I think it's time to mind meld with him.
Well, first nerve pinching, and for that he has to come closer. Yes, come closer. Yes.
And then he mind melds you, and you're like, wait, what?
He approaches just outside of nerve pinching or mind meld range. He respects your personal space bubble and then gives you like another foot or two. Well, I was not.
See, initiate. Oh, okay.
I was not. I must say, I was not anticipating meeting another from the homeworld, particularly in that equipment.
Well, I can't say I was expecting another Vulcan so soon again. But I can assure you, or I'm not from the homeworld, so take that as you will.
Fair enough. The presumption was my mistake. As I suppose it is that as I suppose would be the interruption in the work I may be performing. I sincerely hope this is not an intrusion or undesirable.
Not yet. What brings you seeking this conversation?
Oh. I presumed that, given that your presence might at least suggest that there was some interest and inquiry as to the status of the situation. While I cannot presume that necessarily all of the human individuals would be free necessarily of complete prejudice, given the very understandable disagreeable actions of the Tellarites in the previous months, and indeed some of our own that have followed since then, and that precluded that. I had some presumption that perhaps you were serious in determining how best to help these people.
Well, I'm usually serious in everything that I attempt to do. And I found myself in this particular companionship for the time, so we're trying to help, I suppose.
Cardine just gives you a very simple nod. It is a rare mindset, but definitely a useful one. To be of help where it is needed. To be unintrusive, but to be present enough to where help can be provided when asked.
Well, I'm usually very intrusive in my attempts to help. I leave the unintrusiveness to you, I suppose.
Yeah. Now, at this point, I think it's fair to open the slightest bit of commentary on Vulcan society, and that this is something that you would very much notice, Zoral. Um, foremost, most people presume that Vulcans are, while Vulcans, like with their reputation for being so firmly logical, some would say that they have no emotion. If a Vulcan has undergone the Kolinar, the purging of all emotion, then that is indeed the true. It is indeed very true in that sense. However, your generic everyday Vulcan is generally only going to suppress it. Of course, you also have some people like Zoral who are perfectly happy to wear it on their sleeve. That being
True.
said, yeah, Cardine is at least seemingly the typical Vulcan insofar as he clearly suppresses it. But within that time, with that understanding of Vulcan nature, Zoral, even with your time away from Vulcans, there are very clearly familiar tells of a sort that even through all that suppression, I would say there's the capacity to detect slight differences in expression, the nuances that a human, a Tellarite, an Andorian, or indeed most others will not have the patience to pick up. So with that, I'll ask you just for a difficulty 0 insight and command, please.
Difficulty 0, so basically just don't fail?
Yeah, don't complicate here.
Don't roll
Hmm.
natural 20s. Get
I'm
some.
I'm gonna roll 2.
Okay.
All right, we got.
Fate, come at me!
Oh, that was a
Got a point of
17 on the die.
momentum.
But yes, you did get another point of momentum. Craig, feel free to draw at your leisure.
Yeah.
The expression that Cardine gives you here seems to be about as warm a look as you would expect. One where the corners of the mouth move just ever so slightly, and test the muscles that are not often used by a Vulcan in order to smile.
Yes, the Vulcan High Command would be frothing at the mouth already.
Yep. Very clearly, you are indeed not from the homeworld. Your attitude is to be commendable here. Is there any way that I can assist you in this matter?
Tell me, how good are you as a distraction?
I have some degree of talent, insofar as, well,
Well, let me pose you a problem. We wanted to take a look at where the lithium contamination is coming from. It's clearly not from the air circulation of the colony segment itself. And I have heard that the Tellarites are not happy to let us take a closer look at their part of the operation.
uh,
So we might get through the door. Probably the door is like inside, or at some one of the doors. I put a meaningful look over there and just like, so. If you have any ideas?
well, In terms of distraction, are you seeking the prospect of are you precluding the possibility of confrontation?
I feel that would be preferable. While I have long abandoned the need not to antagonize people, it happens way too easily. Or maybe that's just me. I just want to figure out what's going on here. And their petty rivalries are quite frankly out of place.
Indeed. There may be other ways to go about entering the mining area or areas of some degree of restriction. I will, of course, need to. I will require some time in order to aid you in this regard, but that would be distinctly possible. In the very worst case of scenarios, I believe that the Tellarites could be. There are measures we could undertake in order to persuade or otherwise divert their attention whilst you accomplish your goals here. Those scenarios, however, I'd prefer to avoid bringing in the local population or risking any harm to them.
If we can get by undetected, it would probably be preferable. Unless you see a way to just convince him to let us pass and having everything above board, so to speak, but Tellarites.
Unfortunately, it is unlikely that even Vulcan logic can overcome their insistence or argumentative nature. There are other, more malicious intentions I fear at work.
So, how much time do you need?
He looks over the matter. I will keep it to a minimum. I must say, however, I am presently without a means to reach you. Would you be prepared to spare a small bit of equipment? He says, nodding over to your communicator.
Is that a problem, late? Like Starfleet equipment and such? I'm not too.
Sorry, I was kind of out of the scene, so I'm just like I was chilling on the couch, and I'm like, "Oh shit, you're talking to me."
He's asking for a means to reach us, so one of our communicators.
I heard. I have speakers. But yeah, he just looks over from the work he's working on, and is it a little bit right? It's tapping into our communication web, right?
Definitely a little bit, and this is a Vulcan individual whom you've just met. Earth and Vulcan are generally not on good terms right now. However, if you were paying attention to the conversation at all, then Leighton may make the judgment as to whether this is someone that he would trust. May alternatively wait to let Shira in on this particular conversation. And
He will.
Or do I have like a personal communicator?
You may yet have
Is that a thing?
You might have some personal communication equipment that you keep on you just as a redundancy here. I would imagine that
probably part of the kit, just like without even purposefully packing it or anything.
Yep.
I would just avoid the whole rat tail of regulations, and I would just give him my personal communicator and a frequency to reach.
I will see to this. I will see to it that this is returned to you without damage or with as minimal incident as possible.
Hold on. He stops what he's working on, struts over, opens his hand. There is interference. Let me improve it.
Just Leighton's cold, hard eyes looking. Improvements.
Upgrade in progress.
Oh.
He opens his hand towards Keaton.
Cardine.
I did not intentionally forget that name. Cardine. Please.
With your permission, of course.
Yeah,
So,
let them have it.
yep. So, slight tweaks.
I'm certainly going to improve its latency, but I also want to make sure that if he switches any other frequency besides the one it's already prescribed, that we can also hear it. And that if he's trying to tamper with it, it breaks.
I feel like something like that is a bit more involved. If you would like, I will just allow you to spend 2 momentum to create that advantage.
Okay. Is that fine with everybody?
Fine with
Yeah, I
me.
think that's fine. That was 2 momentum, was it?
Correct.
Okay, I'll get rid of that.
You're probably getting a headache how this thing works because it's like somewhere between heavily modified and self-built.
Yeah, probably. But he's also a jury rigger, so he understands. So he just jury riggers them more.
You recognize the handiwork of chaos.
He will literally like look around and like take whatever. He will take the cap from the crush can, snap it a bit, fold it, and just put it in there as well, and then close the case.
You have my gratitude.
Be careful with it. Then it just goes back.
So the Vulcan gentleman takes it from Specialist Leighton and then nods to you once more, Saral. I will signal just as soon as I have determined that the measures will be effective.
I look forward to it.
Very well. He half raises a hand for a moment, considering the traditional gesture, but simply places the hand back to his side. Says, "Good luck to you until then."
Luck to you as well.
With that, Cardine will get on the move. I understand Shira and Romanov wanted to do something with this as well. If it's okay with the two of you, we will give you a. We will revisit them after we do like another scene or two, just because it was a bit heavy with the two of you at the start. Would that be okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
That's
I
fine.
also was asked for new information for the doctor, and I literally have nothing to give him. So I have to tell him we're still
Yeah.
looking for the source of the lithium. It comes from the ventilation, but where that is coming from, we're still investigating. Also, the concentration has increased, so look
Okay.
forward to that.
With the concentration increase, could I make any sort of engineering or science roll to have a better understanding, given my my knowledge of decontamination and environmental systems?
Oh,
or medicine, actually, I suppose.
I would allow for, I suppose, an insight and engineering roll here, and just to kind of build off of this, since there's already been a lot of work here, call it difficulty
Sure,
one.
but I meant more like the medical knowledge, since I am right here.
Oh. You
and
mean
my
what the impacts of this might be?
yeah, in terms of like the potency and like 'cause I would know. Romanov probably doesn't know, but I certainly would know about the nitty-gritty details about certain chemicals or radiations that I need to make sure don't get through, because I would need to know those things, in terms of like what I have to protect and all that sort of things, or what could be a cause or cause issues on a greater extent if too much exposure arises.
Sure thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Insight and medicine then would apply here. We'll call this difficulty one. Also, while that roll is happening, hey there, Joe, our own overland gamer, the Mr.
No,
Azek
actually,
Korg from the Broken Sword campaign. Hope you're having a good day.
Ben, I tried. That's a fat nada.
Yeah, that's fine.
It would very much just be you look at the scanner, look up. Not good. Yeah. So, with that, let's cut around for a moment. Unfortunately, Mr. Sorrel, you do relay. You are able to relay information to the doctor, and you may converse on the matter if you wish. But the basics are that they've only identified the issue with the dilithium. They haven't done more with. They haven't gotten any more information with the what else could be causing the different symptoms here, and nothing that would suggest the what is it? Um, Nothing that suggests why the dilithium is spilling over into the ventilation system here.
Yeah. Is there any way to guess at what it could be from, like, the kind of the lithium particles? Or is it just mining runoff, or is it some other kind of process that produces these?
Um, so I think I may
I mean, it
ask.
depends heavily on how lithium works and crystals and all. Theoretically, it's possible, but it depends how complex the problem is.
The other two players have yeah, we're now throwing our brains at the board, the same board, but hoping for that.
Yeah, I don't think that Soral, in his many years of experience, I'm guessing he didn't dabble in like resource extraction or mining operations such as this. Would that be a fair assessment?
I'm offended, but you're not wrong necessarily.
Well, I'll tell you what. I will give you the option to spend a point of momentum just to obtain some information here.
I mean, it was. I don't have to. It was literally like the only thing that came to mind without getting like deeper into the process. So I'm good not knowing is what I'm trying to say. It's just
Yeah.
like he's thinking. It's like
Yeah.
I have nothing and I don't like it.
Yeah. You know that these are at least micro fragments. I mean, there are any number of reasons why this could exist. It could be anything from difficulties in a mining process or just like excess loss.
Oh,
It could be what?
Stupid auxiliary question.
Yes.
Is it enough dilithium that it's like a financial loss? Like, I know we're talking about parts per million here, but I don't know how much dilithium you actually need. But is this like something where you say this is like actually where you see a reduce of your bottom line? Maybe not terribly much, obviously, but something you wouldn't usually tolerate.
Um, the concentrations you're reading here, it like it might start adding up to a rounding error. It really depends on how productive the vein is,
Okay.
how pure it
Okay.
is.
Fair enough. Well, that's all I got.
All right, fair enough here. Let's see. I guess then let's move around. So the let's see the doctor, I guess, is busy like with a little more information on that. Material is going to start getting beamed in, so you will have the as you're setting up your medical tent and the sterile environment there. Equipment will be beamed in so that you may start constructing your space and conducting more in-depth tests of whatever is responsible for this, or like getting some samples from the patients in order to get a better sense of that.
Okay.
We'll allow for a scene there. I guess first, then we can, before we do that, the captain has expressed an interest in having a scene, so we could conceivably jump to the ship for a few moments. I guess, Sherry, you and Romanov still wanted to speak with Cardine yourselves, so if that's still something you want to do, if you feel like there's more to that exchange that you want, um, we can postpone you getting back to the ship and allow the captain to have some stuff first, then go back for that. Does that sound okay to you?
Yeah. The idea being we talk to Cardi, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that was as
Okay.
I understood it. I think that it was Craig that originally pitched it.
Yeah, I'm good with that. That would be great.
All right, excellent. So, while the teams while the away team continues to gather more information and look around the cavern outside of Zoran Station, the asteroid mining base that has been built by the unlikely combination of a Tellarite mining corporation, the Jogus Corporation, as well as Chieftain Hoglul and his growing contingent of Nausicaans. The Aegis, our hero ship, the Daedalus class vessel, sits just outside of the base. It is actually by this time more closely nudged into the port that has
Caravel.
been built into this in order to hide its presence from any
Yeah.
Tellarite ships that may be on patrol nearby.
How is Operation Shiny Object going?
Well, on board the bridge, Mr. Connolly has been playing around with the thrusters in order to get the precise rotation and placement at an angle. Um, Creighton has been stalling out the Tellarites a little bit in the dot control, saying that we are conducting perfectly standard maneuvers, and since nobody is leaving this port anyway, there shouldn't be a problem. There's no problem. Don't worry about it. They said don't worry about it. Some people some days.
That makes me think that there's a problem.
I would make sure to get, on occasion, like when I have time, to just be a good captain and bring up some coffee for Crichton.
Yep. Crichton is at this point jittering as he sets down one emptied cup and goes to the next one. Yes. Thank you, sir.
Keep up the good work. I know it's tiring.
Yeah. Patel, who, when you had come up to the bridge, was manning the con, he has subsequently left the captain's chair, but he stands next to it as you move over to him. I should say I did actually bring him up a bit of caffeine myself. I understand the desperate need for it. You don't You don't make it as far in academia. uh, Hell, you don't make it through a master's degree uh, without the finest organic suspension in the galaxy.
Indeed true. How is he holding up? She says, looking over at Crichton. That's a lot of Tellarites to deal with. That's for so long.
I think he's holding up pretty well. But I think that we're all just glad that it's just talking right now, and that this isn't getting into something more pronounced. Believe me, the last time that he was on the comms with Tellarites, we had what was it, 6 cruisers around us.
Mm. She gives a nod. How is Operation Shiny Object going? Speaking of cruisers.
Well, I don't know if they've necessarily picked up any bait. My internal scans seem to suggest that they might have adjusted course. They're definitely on the periphery, but I for one thing don't think that they've actually been conducting long-range scans, or not to their fullest. Otherwise, they might have intercepted us. It's more likely at this point, sir, this is a patrol route.
All right.
But
Let's keep the probe up there for a few hours longer. And if it's just a simple patrol, wouldn't be a big deal. If they start sniffing around in our direction, she gives us like a nod. We'll just continue. We'll start the operation.
of course, Captain. I'll keep you apprised of the situation, and hopefully we won't need to change our plans.
She like looks over at the in the direction of the Tellarite. I imagine our view screen has just the whole front image of, or the current proximity image of the station and all the ships docked and whatnot, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, depending on if you want to say that you had parked with the bow facing the interior of the asteroid, then you are probably we can say that you are essentially blocking the way for a ship to very easily clear. You would, before you see in the larger berths, you would see the Earth freighter Caravel and the Tellarite freighter, nestled in a little more deeply. As Patel has been able to tell you at this point, there's considerable energy readings from the Tellarite freighter, not to suggest they've powered up um, their engines, but more a residual field that suggests that they have a lot of dilithium on board. Something that, the basic power systems, the EM fields that their ship is just passively producing, are interacting with the dilithium in such a way that it produces a unique energy signature. The Earth freighter doesn't have any dilithium on board, at least outside of what it's using to power itself. And
Was it? I've already communicated with the Caravel behind
yes.
the scenes. Was it offloading, trading, just coming for supplies? Why was it here?
It's from what Captain Byers reported to you. They basically they found a port. They decided this looks above board, or this looks interesting. Let's see if there's anything they want to trade. And
they're speculative trading. I'm trying to, anyways.
Yeah. Earth freighters of the day, basically, they will drive around. They will stop by a planet, any planet, if it looks like there's something interesting. There's no prime directive yet, so there are some freighters that have stopped on worlds without warp capability, even, depending on the discretion of the captain. And they'll just, sometimes they'll just plop down a claim if they're mining something. If there's people somewhere, then they will see what they can trade. oftentimes, because a lot of them are just these freighters are a slow bunch. A lot of them just commit to visiting like known ports and trading their wares.
All right. But yeah, so she'll look over in the direction of the Calrite berth and say, "Is there any movements from them? Any twitch or
None,
irritated gesture?"
none yet. The docking clamps are still firmly locked there, and they haven't powered their engines.
Mm. All right. Shira and Romanov back.
They said they were making one additional stop on the way out.
Great. All right. Let's. I was hoping of trying to wait until afterwards, but it's probably best start the gesture now. I already did the paperwork, and that's what she's been doing. Zach, while waiting for people, is doing that paperwork for the idea I was setting up,
Yep.
and I'm going to talk about. All right, give me communication. Start communications with the chief, would you, Crichton? Maybe a decent break from Talrites.
Yep.
Just give a small smile.
Crichton says, "Hold, please. For however long I feel like." And he presses a panel. Yes, Crichton is at his limit. Yes, sir. Setting up comms now, sir. Hailing the chieftain now, sir. Right, I'm right on it. Right now. Hello. Starship Aegis to the to Chieftain Hoglul. Hello. I should push this button. Now you can hear me. Oh, yes, how are you, Chieftain? Yes. I have the captain here. Do you want this in your ready room or the bridge, or how are we doing this? He widens his
Let's
eyes a
have this
little
in my
bit.
ready room. Have this in my ready room. And Crichton,
Yes, sir.
take a bit of a break afterwards.
I don't feel like I could at this point. I feel like I'm a hummingbird flying around looking for nectar.
Crichton, she gives like a. This is a small smile, but like a a firm look.
We do have a head nurse who could sedate him. Just
He
Go get a meal, she says.
he nods imperceptibly quick, and then his head just whips around back and sets
Yeah.
up the comm channel.
You have the con back, she says, patting Patel on the shoulder. Before
All right.
getting into the red room.
I'll hope things don't start blowing up while you're away. Okay. So
Well, hopefully not.
you step from the bridge to the ready room, Colonel, where after just a few moments and a brief display of the Earth Starfleet logo, uh, Chieftain Hoglul appears on the computer monitor before you.
Chieftain, I hope that my away team has been useful to you in any sort of capacity for your benefit.
They are helping as best they can. Oh, this is a difficult situation.
It certainly is, and certainly my specialists and top experts will work on this until we are assured that we figured out what's going on. But in the meantime, there is a bit of a concern that you and I both share regarding some relativities, especially when it comes to your business partner, as it were. And
The Tellarites are difficult to work with, yes.
I'd like to offer you a rare opportunity. And certainly I am not, this is not a conditional in the sense of refusing will turn down my work. I do not truly believe in any sort of that capacity for that sort of nature. But certainly if your intentions with this vase are true and could use at the moment a bit of more control when it comes to your operation, there are some privileges I am due from my position that I can offer you. That will come at a bit of a interesting prospect.
He narrows his eyes a little bit. Speak plainly, Captain. What are you proposing?
I am offering to some extent, my own governance and claim to the station. And before you immediately hang up on me in response, I want you to own that said governance. I want you to remain the governor. I have no prospect to the business. Simply, I wish to ensure their safety and proper control of the station and its health, one of which Zogas Corporation has been slowly crawling upon and subsuming under your nose, that you've almost certainly know. But as a power from even my infant nation, I can still, and the fact that I have a power through this ship, and I can lay claim as part of the United Earth. I am offering you in itself, the business that you already were operating on. And perhaps with your help, and if you're in agreement, I can even perhaps acquire through business the uh, Tellarites that you've already been working through, and keep more or less things as they were before, if not better.
You are suggesting that I simply trade that I trade Tellarite partners for human ones, or that instead of Jogus operating off of their rules, they operate off of yours, that Earth places its flag here in their guise.
More or less, though, given the fact that we are a relatively new power in the stars, certainly there would be no sort of administrative overbearingness, so long as your intentions are purely business and clear.
I'm going to place out one point of threat here. Captain, I would like you to roll me a presence and command roll with the complication range increase here. Hogel, considering this, is also going to be impacted.
Okay. Boo, 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 boo. Am I out of character? Am I making sense? I don't do the Volmus thing very often. I'm
I
trying to
I think,
voice it.
yeah, I think Hogel is, he may be comprehending some of this, but he's considering the implications of it, and oh dear. He
I mean,
does roll a complication there.
I
I feel you're offering him
will.
a bad deal, but yeah.
Well, no. What I'm basically doing is I'm basically making it his own company, but then basically I'm gonna try to do. I'm hoping to do. This is my out of character plan, is to basically buy out the current workers underneath Gant, and basically have them start from a smaller but still profitable perspective. They get now more shares of the dilithium as opposed to freaking like what 20. They'll get it's a I think it'd be a better prospect, and especially with Earth not having the Tellarites are not going to provide it. As Gantar already pointed out, the Tellarites are just going to basically press gang them harder if the Tellarite government ever shows in the direction. So better have a more, legal opportunistic.
Yep.
Providement.
Go ahead and give it a roll there, just to
Yep.
help
I'm going to spend determination. the line between disorder and order lies in logistics, because I certainly would know how to admin my shit into giving them all the benefit they need. And I would explain as such, because Peter is not a bureaucratic monkey, but Sharpe is. And we will also, my focus will be diplomacy here, because I'm trying a diplomatic route.
Copy that.
I will add a die if that's fine for everybody.
Yeah, sure.
Sounds like a plan.
And you're increasing the complication range, right?
Yep, but by 1 point.
Yep. Okay.
Oh,
Motherfucker. I will, if you guys don't mind, I'm just gonna take the actually, before that, I have cautious command. I've already oh, that's also insight command.
Well, I don't think
presence.
because your let's see. So presence would be
Nope, still wouldn't matter.
Okay,
Still wouldn't matter. It's a 16.
Yep.
So, but I still have cautious command, so I'll re-roll those 2 dice.
Yep. For those at home, the player has the talent cautious, which, when buying dice with momentum for a particular discipline, allows her to re-roll, and that allows you 3 successes. So
for a total of 5.
Yep. Well, with the one complication that Hogel has as he considers this, your offer is very persuasive. But you are still asking me to trade human masters, however distant, and for whatever salutary nature of the neglect, still asking me to consider that replacing them and spurning the Tellarites here.
To some extent, that is a risk, but you can offer, with that new change in administration, and certainly more allowance, with your permission from myself, I can offer your current work Tellarite workers a small percentage, which would likely be a lot more value given the fact it is Tellarite mining than there would be from any sort of transport that they're doing right now, or any other deal that Zogus Corporation is giving them.
And if Zogus reaches out to their benefactors on Tellar Prime, will there be an Earthship here to defend us in that circumstance? They try to enforce their claims. How prepared exactly, or how far are you willing to go for our station, so many light years from home?
She watches for a moment. Certainly, it would be asking for me a lot as well. There's something wrong with this whole operation in general, and I'm hoping that my team can find that one, excuse me for the term, Achilles heel that might give you enough insurance that they won't do such things. At least give my consideration a thought.
I will do that much for you, Captain. The Jogas of the, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, there are some broad details here. The main points of our current contract with the Jogas allow them to mine here and take considerable profit from the dilithium operations under the condition that they provide some assistance equipment and provide for the safety of this settlement in the interim. We still have many years left on this contract, and are contributing some labor to it as well, to their mining operation, although that has been hampered. I must admit, I do consider your offer only because if this plague persists, then we may not be able to keep up our end of the bargain. But if that were to happen, by rights of the contract, we would forfeit our claims, and it would be distinctly possible that we would be forced to depart the station. They would,
She nods.
if, however, they can be proven in violation, there is potentially there is a favorable balance that could still be struck here. That much of the ownership would revert back to us. I do not know that I am quite keen to allow myself, or to allow this to become subject to the whims of Earth. Indeed, that I would commit my people to their cause, or that if there were dispute such as that I would want my people to be caught in that fight any more than you would want to be caught fighting on our behalf.
I have no problem, Chieftain. I have no problem fighting on your behalf. Simply, it's the more practical side of what ship Earth can bring here to protect you if such a need arises. If I was the opportunity and I was nearby and you needed defense, I would always come to your defense, as I would anyone in need. But your words do bring some truth to it at the moment. That said, something that since you brought it up, is there any legal clause within the contract to prevent others from looking at the contract, Chieftain?
I will review it, but I do not believe there was anything that prevented some level of disclosure with. What was the phrase? I believe it was more aimed at competitors, if you will. You are not a mining company, are you, Captain?
Not. I'm not in the least. She smiles.
Then perhaps
just a simple explorer.
Well, then perhaps this might be of some use to you, and he will relay over some documentation.
I am going to like a fine-tuned fucking comb.
Well, if you are prepared to fight for us, then maybe there is some hope here.
I will see what my team finds and discovers. Thank you for at least hearing me out, Chieftain.
With that, the chieftain will close the comm line.
And she will signal, she will open the communication to Patel.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just got the documents for the contract between the Chieftain and the Zogus Corporation. Could you print those out? I prefer it in legal, actual paper or any sort of form of writing than a pad for this.
Oh, hey, yeah, I completely understand that. Yeah, I'll go down and do it right away. Conley, can you take the con? Yeah, thanks. Okay, good. I'll be right back.
Thank you. Yeah, and so we'll while I'm waiting for the kids to come home, I'm just going to pick apart piece by piece this contract.
Yep. Okay. Um, let's see here. So, I think we've got enough time for maybe one more scene before we close out the session. So
Mhm.
we just come off something with Saral. We have the scene with we still have the one thing that Romanov and Cher wanted to do with Cardine. Uh, let's see, rotating back around. Doctor, is there anything else you'd want with anyone else just before we cut out? I want to make sure that you have opportunities to get in here. If not, we can always pick up with stuff from next time.
Yeah, I've got nothing.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
pick
we'll
up
have
stuff
time to
next time.
figure things out then. In the meantime, let's move back to Zoran Station inside the habitation, where let's see. Before heading back to the ship, Romanov and Shira are looking around for someone's former Vulcan mentor.
I figured we'd talk to this Cardine guy. So, I mean, he's the. You've got Tellarites and you've got Nausicans here. They've got their own points of view. Having a third party who's been here for a while is probably a good idea to check in
Oh,
with.
he's
him.
here with a reason. He's more than just an instructor from the school. He's the one who trained me in Vulcan.
Trained you in that in the Vulcan martial arts?
Yes, he's a grandmaster.
Oh wow. Okay.
Just to put him in contact. If he's here, he has a reason to be here.
Why would he come to this place?
Well, he chose to open, he was one of several Vulcans who chose to open up a school on Alpha Centauri. I would say that he and his compatriots were not your average Vulcans. They were certainly catering to a small Vulcan population, but, you know, given my experience in life, I now look back on it and realize that they were also interested in raising up the education level of people in colonial worlds. So he may have reasons to be here that he may disclose or may not. Probably has information about what's going on.
So is that why your parents sent you to the Vulcan school? They felt you'd get a better education there.
Absolutely.
You think it was better than what Alpha Centauri would provide?
Oh, Alpha Centauri public schools were atrocious at the time.
A voice comes from behind you. I certainly attempted my very best with young Ms. Romanov.
She's not surprised to have him come behind her, completely unnoticed. She'll turn around and you did.
Oh.
It is good to see you, Master.
And you, Alaska.
We were just speculating that you might have what's going on here, having experienced the place for a while.
Indeed. I am still very much attempting to assess the state of the place myself. However, it is quite clear that there is some untoward action present here.
I begin to suspect that the station is down to 60% efficiency on its ventilations, and they only have 2/3 of the filtering supplies they need. So
You are beginning to see the components, but not yet the whole picture.
we hoped you could help us with that.
The illness, yes, that in and of itself, I suspect, would not be enough to fully explain the nature of the illness if there's indeed, as I gather, some semblance of if there is indeed some element of pollution present with the operation, or if the parts are defective in some manner, then exposing them to the same level of toxins, then one would presuppose that this is but a component of the issues that are they're presently afflicting the station. Indeed, that the workings of such are either there's either the possibility of further negligence or worse, deliberate intent to bring harm to these people.
I'm starting to lead towards deliberate intent.
Indeed. I am already undertaking preparations to assist your Mr. Sorrel on this matter.
Excellent.
What? How are you assisting him?
Very simply, he requested a further examination of the ventilation system.
Okay.
I am preparing to facilitate that. At least, as I understand it, I am uncertain as to exactly what he intends to do past, of the one possibility he has discussed, diversion was one option.
D-
That is something I may be able to supply, but I may have measures that go beyond that if possible.
Diversion. Okay, that sounds like something I need to talk to the captain about.
We'll let him know. I'm sure Sorrel bumped into something he felt he needed to look into. He was tracing where the contaminants were coming. I was merely looking at what effect those contaminants had on the ventilation system. And I can guarantee you, he can, Mr. Carding can provide a distraction.
I'm sure. You two chat. I'm gonna go call the captain briefly.
Okay.
Just Shira finding a nearby place, turning off her external comms, and switching her suit on.
Yeah. Just sending a message to Aegis.
Yep.
What's the Andorian saying? Or snitches get stitches.
Snitches get stitches.
She would do well to remember the famous phrase, "May your woes be your deadliest weapons." Shira may be very well armed at this point.
I think the better phrase is never trust a in Vulcan.
Yep.
So yeah, we'll get a. She'll send a message to Aegis.
Yep.
Shira to Aegis.
Hello. Hello. Oh, Lieutenant Shira, how good to hear from you. How are you doing? Are you coming back to the ship now?
Crichton, could you put me through to the captain?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, of course. Let me just send them through. They're looking over some legal documents right now, but I believe
Is there something wrong with the buffer on the communicator? You're talking really fast on my end.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I feel like I may have overdone it very slightly on the
Overdone what?
The caffeine. I feel like I can see through time, and my eyes are meeting with a koala.
He partook of the Orion matching powder.
Crichton, maybe after you've redirected my call, have a break, or maybe go to the sick bay.
Can't stop, won't stop, sir. And then the line patches you into the captain.
That man is Captain. Has Sorrel contacted you recently?
Here shuffles of papers. No, he has not. Why?
We're just on our way out. We're just having a very quick chat with a Vulcan who was here, and we just wanted to hear an independent perspective on the situation on the station.
Getting rather late on the timer with that, by the way. But continue.
Yeah. We'll be moving. But He said he's gonna be a diversion for something Sorrel is planning. And
Lieutenant,
I've not had anything
Lieutenant.
run past me on this.
Lieutenant, I didn't quite hear you, and I am currently busy at the moment.
Okay.
We will
That's
chat later.
Okay, that's all I needed to hear. Thank you, sir.
Captain out. Just clicks off.
Never trust a Vulcan or a Starfleet captain. Got it. Let's go.
Okay. Cardin, I will see you later then.
I suppose I shall. Until then, he gives you he raises his hands, index finger with the middle together, ring finger together with the pinky. Peace and long life, my old student.
I will give it back to him. Peace and long life.
So, with that
Oh,
card,
she'll look back over her shoulder, and I've kept my practice, sir.
at a more appropriate time, we can test that.
I look forward to it.
And Cardine will leave the two of you. More appropriately, he will have carried. I'm sure he carried on a very pleasant conversation with Romanov, catching up and supplying just a little bit more information, whilst Shira just had an absolute look of face on her, of a look of concern on her face as she was speaking, though muted to the outside world, and Cardine has left by the time, Shira, that you turn your attention back to Romanov.
An Andorian ship was this. Okay, so let's hurry back quickly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. And the two of you run back to the shuttlecraft.
Justice, take us back to the ship.
Yeah. Chief Justice kept the engine running for you, so we'll get you back no time flat. And with that, he kicks up the shuttle pod. It's a few minutes past elapsing from when you leave the habitation to go to the hangar, and then for the for the bay around the shuttle pod to depressurize once you've re-entered. And as you slip out of the small recessed berth for your small craft, you move on out towards the Aegis, which has now joined you, nestled in the berth where the Aegis and the freighters are currently located. You still have your work cut out for you at Zoran Station, and at this rate, Shira, it's seeming increasingly likely that, for one reason or another, there will be need of your tactical expertise. At least if things go wrong. And we'll find out about... Yep, we will find out about that next time on Star Trek Adventures Aegis. So for those of you joining us in the archive, I hope you enjoyed, and we will see you next session here.